What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford, who gave you false advertising on the X Everything platform on Tuesday. Tyler claimed that we were going to have a mailbag episode today. We still will do that. We'll still answer a couple of questions later on, but unbeknownst to Tyler, some chaos happened at Minute Maid or at Dyken Park. That's the first time I've done that. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, did you know this is episode 100?
Oh, really? Congrats. Yeah. Look at us.
Well, I can't believe it could be the last one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, episode 100. We made it somehow, some way. Thank you to everybody again for listening.
I apologize on the mailbag there. I guess I got crossed up. That's on me.
Thank you. You said it, not me. Yeah, so I think anyone that is a fan of the Astros or that listens to this regularly kind of knows where we're going to start this one with what transpired in the fifth inning last night at Dyken Park between the Astros and the Yankees. The Astros, Max Fried just completely carved them up for 7 innings. Astros lose 7-1. That was not the entire story. In the fifth inning, Astros starter Framber Valdez César Salazar. He and César Salazar were having some issues in the fifth inning. That's to put it mildly. Trent Grisham was at bat with the bases loaded. Salazar, they could not get on the same page pitch selection wise. Salazar pretty clearly and admitted after the game that he wanted Valdez to step off the mound so they could go through the pitches again and come to an agreement. Valdez did not. Salazar had called a curveball to throw to Trent Grisham. Framber Valdez wanted to throw a sinker, so that's what he did. Trent Grisham hit it into the Crawford boxes for a grand slam. Just the third left-handed hitter to hit a home run off of Framber Valdez this season, and the second of the game because Jazz Chisholm did it in the second inning. So that happens. The grand slam's given up. They're down 6-0. Anthony Volpe then comes into the batter's box. He's the next hitter. Framber misfires with a first pitch curveball. And then on the second pitch of the plate appearance, that's where it gets murky. César Salazar set up low and away. Framber Valdez instead threw a 92.8 mile per hour sinker right down the middle. César Salazar could not get his glove up in time on the cross up, and the baseball hit him square in the chest protector. After Framber unleashed the throw, he turned his back toward Salazar, walked down the mound. I will say this, in the Astros work with Framber about controlling his emotions and keeping a level head on the mound, that is something, taking a lap around the mound, that is something that that Framber has learned as a way to manage his emotions. So it is not out of character for Framber Valdez to, walk around the mound, take a couple deep breaths. But in that situation, the optics did not look great. César Salazar stared out at Framber Valdez after the pitch. When he took off his mask, he did not look like someone that was very happy. I'll say this, and then Tyler, I'll let you go. There's one person that knows the intent of what happened, and it's the guy that threw the baseball. It's Framber Valdez. I can't judge intent. I can't get in his head. No reporter can do that. Framber was asked after the game if it was intentional. He said it was not. He said, but he did find it necessary to apologize to César Salazar both in the dugout after the inning and after the game. Should be noted that both César Salazar and Framber Valdez were called into manager Joe Espada's office after the game while reporters were in the clubhouse. So they weren't trying to hide this. It was they were in crisis communication mode pretty quickly. It's a delicate situation to talk about. It's one that I'm not sure we will ever get the full answer. We'll never get the 100% full answer, but suffice to say, Tyler, at the very least, the optics are problematic.
let me push back on there's only one person who knows. I think Cesar Salazar knows. Like, he is a catcher. He knows what it feels like when somebody gets crossed up or, the wrong pitch is called and you mess up. That was not the face of a guy that was like, "Oh, I understand what happened." Like that. There's more than one person that knows the intent or has a pretty good idea of intent. Let me start by saying that's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. That's little league stuff like that. He looks like a kid out there, just upset and wanted to hit somebody. And I mean, I've watched the clip 100 times. I absolutely believe it was intentional. I think he was just frustrated and, lost his cool, threw a 93-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, which is also very funny that Anthony Volpe didn't swing. We wouldn't know about it if Volpe had just swung at a 93-mile-an-hour sinker right down the middle.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
To be honest.
I mean, it's literally just dead center 93-mile-an-hour sinker, which is also what he threw Trent Grisham. So even if Framber disagreed with the pitch that was called, like, the one you picked was a bad one, buddy. Even if you wanted to throw a sinker, don't throw it right there. But again, you're right. Like, we're not going to get a definitive answer. Nobody's going to come out and, Framber's never going to admit to that. Salazar is not going to come out and say, like, they're not going to say it, but anybody with eyes can see that was just childish. Like, there's not another way to put it. Like, I have a 5-year-old that reminded me of her getting upset and throwing something. And if you look at, let me go the opposite way. Let's go best case scenario for Framber, and that he misunderstood, accidentally threw this, and hit his teammate with a pitch. Best case scenario is that, and he showed no emotion towards the catcher. He did not do anything of like, "Oh, my bad. Like, are you okay? Check it." Like, nothing. The literal best case scenario is that Framber ignored hitting his catcher with a fastball, which is already bad enough. Like, that would be wild anyway if there was no cross up. And I mean, if you take a foul ball off the face, you show concern for your cat. Like, he showed no concern for his teammate, who he clearly was frustrated with. And that's the best case scenario. And I don't think that is true at all. I don't think there's anybody in the clubhouse that believes Framber. I don't think there's anybody that watched the game that believes Framber. And look, going from here, again, we're not going to get a public apology, but I'll tell you something. Framber has to make it right in the clubhouse privately. Like, again, we're never going to know that. People are not going to come out and say that, but I guarantee you those teammates are all looking at him differently. It's embarrassing. It can't happen. And if things are not cleared up, I mean, that's just a vibe killer for the, we've talked about all year. This is a team that's run on the power of friendship. And that was the least friendly thing I've ever seen on a baseball field. Embarrassing. And Framber needs to take accountability. Whether, again, I am not expecting him to do it publicly. That's not going to happen. But he needs to speak to the team privately. And if he doesn't do that, like, that relationship is broken. Nobody is going to, believe him. Nobody's going to back him up. And I mean, honestly, I know the Astros are in a playoff hunt. They desperately need Framber to be good. I'll put it this way. If Framber was a number 4 starter, he would not see the field again. Like, that was just ridiculous.
I do want to acknowledge that Framber Valdez did apologize after the game. In his post-game interview, he said he apologized to Cesar Salazar on 2 occasions. He did say, I accept full responsibility for what happened. So this is a situation where he's been accountable publicly. As far as what you said inside the clubhouse, teammate to teammate, that's another story. That is something that, again, I will probably never see. No one will probably see. This is something that good teams like handle this behind closed doors. This is a 12-hour story on teams that have a good culture, teams that have good accountability, things like that. This is something that gets quashed very quickly. Remember also that there was an incident, not to this degree, but earlier this season when Framber Valdez called out the defensive positioning behind him. It was something that Joe Espada met with him the next day when he got to the ballpark, and then that was the end of it. Joe didn't reveal what their conversation said. Joe didn't, entertain any more questions other than we talked, it's done, and everyone moved on. So there is at least some precedent here that the Astros are able to squash this in-house, get it dealt with, and that may have started to happen last night. I will say this again: I'm not here to judge intent. I can't crawl into Framber's brain. I can only go by what the man told us on the record. He was asked. Cesar Salazar was asked. They both claim that they did not believe it was intentional. I have to take them at their word because they were given the opportunity. They were asked that, and I have to take them at their word. But I'll say, like, you don't pull the starter and the catcher into the manager's office post game while the media is inside. And when we walked in the clubhouse as well, Framber and Cesar Salazar were at Salazar's locker, and they were talking in a pretty demonstrative way. It was all in Spanish, so I could not tell you what they said. But there was I would not call it heated at all, but it was an animated discussion that they were having. Again, I cannot tell you what was said because I don't know Spanish. If anyone can teach me Spanish, please let me know. But then they pulled both into the manager's office. Again, they're never going to divulge what was said in the manager's office, but they came out with some company lines they stuck to. You could tell that they had found a way that this was their stories and they were going to stick to it. The stories differed a little bit. Did you notice that about, some of this is, Framber Valdez does not do interviews in English. A lot of it is through an interpreter, or all of it is through an interpreter. And at one point, Framber said that he called for certain pitches. That's impossible because Framber does not wear a pitch comm device to where he can call the pitches. And then Framber was asked about that. He said, someone asked, how can you call pitches when you don't have the pitch comm? And he basically kind of walked it back and said, well, no, that's what I had in my head. So that's where I was going to throw regardless of what I heard. Cesar Salazar said he punched the wrong button into the pitch comm on the pitch that got crossed up. It was a bad night. It was a bad night.
The stories differ because one of them is lying and the other one is trying to be a good teammate and cover up for him. Like that's why the stories differ, is that you're not getting the real story. And again, even if the best case scenario, even if that's true, and Framber, if the truth was, I heard him say curveball, but I wanted to throw a sinker, so I did. You can't do that. That's not how pitching works. Like, you can't throw a different pitch than what you've agreed to with the catcher. And if you don't want to throw that pitch, you shake it off or you step off like Cesar Salazar was trying to tell you before you gave up a grand slam. Like, again, the absolute best case scenario for Framber is still embarrassing. And I don't think that's close to the truth. I think it's much worse than that. And yeah, I mean, you said he apologized to Salazar for what? Like for throwing a different pitch than what he called. That's not an apology. And so when I say he has to address the club, like he has to tell those 26 guys in the locker room the truth and say, like, yeah, my emotions got the best of me. I shouldn't have done that. I messed up. And that's the only way this can be salvaged. And if he's not, look, he's about to be 32 years old. Like, this is not a child. This is not a rookie. Like, you are a grown man. Take responsibility for that privately with the other people that you are on a team with, because that was just embarrassing.
And this is one of those situations where you do, again, it's unquantifiable, and we've talked about it at length as to why the Astros can keep sustaining their level. But this is where having a solid clubhouse culture comes. This is where it pays dividends, because this is something that you start to look at. Carlos Correa was being talked to last night by Omar Lopez, the bench coach in the clubhouse while all this was going on. I don't know that Correa went into the manager's office, but he walked toward Joe Espada's office after he had gotten dressed and showered and everything. Jose Altuve is obviously the guy that everyone looks up to in there. I'm not putting it on those two guys that they've got to get this, figured out, but this is a clubhouse where the culture is such that things like this this is not one of those like season spiraling problems, I think.
It's not if Framber takes accountability. But again, I mean, I agree. Like, it's great that Altuve is there. If Carlos Correa was not on the team, I would feel a lot less confident about this being handled. Like, I do think Correa knows how to speak to Framber and knows how to control a locker room. So I have confidence that Correa can get that solved, but it takes accountability from Framber, and we have no idea if he's going to be able to do that. I hope so, but it's up to him. Like, there's no other way around it. Correa will find a way to speak to him and to try to convince him to do that. But if Framber does not take accountability with his teammates, like that, there's nothing you can do, and it's that relationship is ruined. Like I said, like you can't go out there and back up a guy, how you've been doing, if you have that in the back of your mind that he's just going to peg you with a fastball whenever he gets fussy on the mound. It's ridiculous.
I will say this too before we go to a break. The Astros clubhouse knows how to handle Framber. I mean, he's been around for 8 years now. Like, they have seen him, and I know last night did not represent it, but Framber has made a lot of strides in terms of being able to control his emotions, being able to keep a level head. They have worked very hard with him on this, and he has grown in some ways in that, and then there are other times where it's still a struggle for him. But suffice to say, like, the Astros have seen every version of Framber that can be seen in terms of mentality, makeup, things like that. So they know how to handle him in there, and I think that should be something to take solace in. That this is not something that somebody randomly went rogue and they don't know how to respond. This is somebody that they know how to handle, that they have had to kind of come to terms with how to coexist with. And look, it's worked out. Like, I mean, Framber's been very, very good for them on the field. He's had some huge moments for them, and by and large, all the other stuff has been kept pretty under wraps and pretty, inside the clubhouse, aside from when Framber comes out and calls out the coaching staff for the defensive stuff, or when stuff like, what may have happened Tuesday happens. So it's a mess. It is going to test it's going to test Joe Espada. It's going to test, the clubhouse culture. But I think we've seen that this culture is one that should be conducive to addressing this, but not allowing it to spiral into anything further. And I think that's the only thing right now that the Astros can control, because they can't help what's happened. They can't help what is out there. I think if you look at the court of public opinion, if you open social media, I think people have already made their minds up about the intent behind last night. They're not going to be able to change that. So I think now it's just in terms of how do they move forward? How do they put one foot in front of the other? And how do they, go out today and, the best way to forget about this, honestly, is to win. And it's just to keep playing well and winning. So the Astros have to do that today. We'll talk about it a little bit more right after this message from our friends at DraftKings. NFL fans, week 1 is your shot to play free and stack $1 million cash bag with DraftKings Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app Enter for free and pick more or less on 6 player stats for week 1. Share your link with friends and add more cash to the bag. Hit all 6 picks, and you could be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code FOUL, opt in for free, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in bag builder contest. Only perfect entries can earn share of cash prizes. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I forgot the NFL started this weekend.
Mhm.
Shows how much I love the footy ball. Go somebody, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Hope Joe Burrow does well. That'd be nice.
Where'd he go to school?
Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio. I think they named something after him at Ohio. I don't know why, but I think anyway. The weird thing about last night was I completely understand he gave up 6 runs. But I thought Framber, like when he was pitching and when he was like I thought he looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was, Framber has become such a polarizing figure that every time he pitches, everyone just wants to say this is good Framber, this is bad Framber. Sometimes bad Framber is like people think he gives up 2 runs and he's bad Framber. Like I thought he pitched pretty well last night. I thought the stuff looked decent. The curveball looked better than it had. He struck out 8, only walked 1 guy until the 5th inning. I did not think this was one of those starts that we've seen from him where, things unravel. The home plate umpire, Ramon DeJesus, was awful last night, missed a couple huge calls. It really didn't seem to impact Valdez. He came back after the home run to Chisholm and really settled in, got through the middle of the order the second time pretty easily. From purely a stuff and pitching perspective, I thought Framber probably looked better than his line would indicate. But at the end of the day, you give up 6 runs in 5 innings. That's not what you want.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that.
Okay. All right.
Not today.
Okay. Just trying to avoid talking about this for 45 minutes. To do that, we're going to give the people what they want. I told you Tyler lied on X on Monday. We're gonna make Tyler an honest man, and we're going to answer a couple mailbag questions. I understand a lot of them are about Framber or were about Framber when I was looking earlier today. I'm not sure what else we can really say. We just spent 20 minutes covering it. Like, no, they're not going to release him. No, they're not going to they're not taking any sort of like drastic measure like that. But like we talked about, it's something that they're going to have to handle internally. It's stuff that we will never be privy to what happens. It's going to be handled. But just I don't know that there's much more we can say as far as the questions and things about Framber. So in the absence of that, we will answer a question from Christopher Michael, who asks, if every position player comes back as scheduled and we manage to go deep in the playoffs, what does your playoff bench look like? And if Paredes is healthy enough to assume a role, do you think the Astros chance it in the ALCS or World Series and put him on the roster? It's a lot of ifs, a lot of what ifs. Isaac Paredes was going for his follow-up imaging, as was Josh Hader. They were going for their follow-up imaging on Tuesday, so we should know more today about what's next for both of them, whether Hader can resume playing catch, whether Paredes can maybe start doing some baseball stuff. But as far as Paredes goes, like, he's still a ways away. I'd be surprised if he was available to play at any point in the remainder of the regular season. But then after that, the Astros have gotten good contributions from Ramon Urias, who's kind of taken that second base role, especially behind Valdez. It seems like they value him a little bit higher at second base than they do Dubon. Dubon played center field last night because Jake Myers is still hurt. I think when Jake Myers comes back, you'll have a little bit more of a rotation at second base. But as far as the bench goes in the playoffs, Dubon will be there, obviously. Ramon Urias will be there. They'll have Victor Caratini. And then it's one more guy. It's a fourth bench player. I think a lot of it depends on what does the other bullpen look like? How many left-handers do they have? How many right-handers do they have? Do they want to carry a left-handed bat like Taylor Trammell? Do they want to carry, a right-handed bat like maybe, Chas McCormick or Zach DeCenzo, somebody like that? A lot of it, like, you can't really talk about postseason roster construction until you know the opponent, because these teams tailor their roster for what could happen in that specific series. So that's why sometimes you'll see kind of interesting decision making and interesting choices, because they're looking at, okay, well, if let's say they're playing the Blue Jays, if we play the Blue Jays and they go to this reliever in the 7th inning, well, we know that this guy on our bench has great numbers against this type of profile pitcher. We're going to put him on the roster over this guy. So it's kind of foolish right now to be thinking about a playoff roster and a playoff bench. But I think, if Isaac Paredes is ready, if he is full go without any impediment, which again, it's a long shot, I think that's certainly a valuable guy that you could carry. I don't know that he would play every day, because he would probably not even have a rehab assignment. He probably could just go straight onto the roster. And at that point, he probably does profile as more of a pinch hitter, as more of a guy that they can use late in a game against a leverage reliever, see a ton of pitches, put up a good at bat, and who knows, maybe pull one to left field.
Yeah. And you also remember, if it's a 5-game series, you can drop a starter. Like Verlander wasn't even on the roster last year for the Tiger series, correct?
Correct.
So, you can structure your roster in a couple interesting ways. If Isak can play, great. I agree. I don't think he would be starting. I think he would pinch hit, and then the second he got on base, get pinch run for. But yeah, getting Jake Myers back will clear up a lot of those things, because that will shore up your outfield. Your outfield is going to be Jordan or Altuve in left field, and the other one DHing, Myers in center and Jesus Sanchez in right. And then maybe a DeCenzo or McCormick or somebody that's right-handed. If there's like a really tough lefty, if you're facing Scooble, you might not want to start Jesus Sanchez. But they've got a few options there. But the team is going to look pretty similar to what it looks now if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, and the deeper they go in the playoffs, if they make it, the more it would bode well for Isaac Paredes, because he just needs time. They're not going to rush him back. He needs time to get his hamstring right, to feel confident he can run on the hamstring, and to just see some live pitching, whether that's seeing at bats from minor leaguers they bring in or stuff like that. He's just going to need time. So even if it's a best case scenario and he's able to, start some baseball activities pretty soon and he's able to ramp up a little bit, I think thinking about him in a potential wild card scenario is probably a little bit far-fetched, but who knows? Maybe he heals quickly. Maybe he has a way to get back on the field quicker, but I can't for the life of me see Isaac Paredes playing a prominent role in any sort of playoff situation, but could he contribute? Sure. But I think right now with the logjam they have, I don't know where they would play him on a regular basis. And quite frankly, whether they'd feel comfortable playing him on an everyday basis in the playoffs, just given how severe the injury was and how long he's had a layoff. So
where is I know he's rehabbing. Is he in games yet in AAA, or is he still just rehabbing?
Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played, I think, 4 or 5 games in AAA.
Okay.
I'd imagine
that'd be big.
You could target maybe the Rangers series at this weekend in Arlington. You could target that as perhaps a time when Jake Myers returns to the club. I think they want him to play defense on back-to-back days at least once before he comes back. I don't think he's done that at AAA yet. I'd have to check the game logs, but I'm pretty sure that they've DH'd him. They've played him in left field, but I don't think he's played – or center field, excuse me. I don't think he's played defense in center field on back-to-back days yet, and I think that's what that's the final hurdle he has to clear. So I'd imagine you could see him as early as this weekend in Arlington, but they're going to take their time with it because somehow they still have a 3-game lead in the American League. We haven't talked about that yet. They're 9-10 in their last 19 games and have gained 3 games in the American League West.
Yeah. The Rangers are closing in on the Mariners now.
Yeah. It's something. And, it's now it gets pretty interesting because you get 6 games with the Rangers left. Like you get 3 in Arlington, 3 in Houston. Like, I think we just talked about running on the power of friendship. Like the Rangers don't have Evaldi. They don't have Semien. They don't have Seager. They've lost a lot of big names recently, and they just keep finding ways to win. So maybe they're on kind of a vibe style run that the Astros were on there for a little while. But yeah, everyone wants to watch the scoreboard for the Mariners, but keep an eye on the Rangers because they're coming pretty close. Let's answer one more mailbag question. It'll come from Ross Pollock, who asks, Mauricio Dubon has gotten several starts in center field recently over Chas McCormick and Jacob Melton. What do you make of that as far as the remainder of the season? Well, as we just talked about, Ross, Jake Myers is going to be back soon. He will be playing a majority of the time in center field once he returns. They will need to make a roster move for Jake Myers to get him back on the roster. I would imagine that would be Jacob Melton.
Yep.
Just given, look, they've given him a little bit of runway. He's played a good bit since he's been back up in Jake Myers' absence, and it has not really gone well. He's got 28 strikeouts and 67 at bats. Usually when I'm thinking about roster moves, I do usually look at are they using this player or are they not using this player? And they're not using Chas McCormick right now. Like he's basically been relegated to throwing the 9th inning of mop-up games and getting an occasional start against a left-handed pitcher. It should be noted that he didn't start against Yusei Kikuchi on Monday, a left-handed starter, and that was an interesting move, and it maybe kind of demonstrated where he's at in the hierarchy. But anyway, but I think Chas can play center field if they need to adjust their defense late in games. If something happens to where they've got to hit for Jake or Jake's got to come out early because he's still nursing the calf or whatever, Chas can play center field. There's a little he's at least been in bigger situations. He's been in the major leagues. I think they'd opt to keep McCormick over Melton, at least for right now. But it should be noted that Chas McCormick does have minor league options remaining, and they could option him. They don't need his consent. That they could option him to AAA. But to me, I think Melton is probably the guy that goes down when Jake Myers is ready. But to answer the original question, what it means is that they're trying to find some sort of consistency in center field without Jake Myers because they don't have any.
Yeah, interestingly, I agree. I think McCormick makes more sense for the rest of the season. I could certainly see a scenario in the playoffs where you would rather have Melton as your late inning pinch running demon out there. So that could be a scenario. But yeah, I think you're right that once Jake Myers is back up, it'll be Jake Melton going down. Really good defender, good runner, not a hitter yet. So it's tough to play him 4 at-bats a game.
Yeah, and this is the time where and this should not be an indictment on Jacob Melton's career.
No.
Plenty of guys come up here and struggle. Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, it's not, player development is not a linear thing. It's one of these things where they're in a bind right now. They need some sort of spark. And look, Jacob Melton can still run. He's like a gazelle in center field. Jake Myers is probably the only better defensive center fielder in the organization than Jacob Melton. Very good defender, very good base runner, has speed. Like you said, could be valuable in that role if they need a quote unquote just a pinch runner on the bench in the playoffs. But yeah, I think for the immediate future, I think you'll see Jacob Melton probably go down on whenever Jake Myers comes back. I believe that would probably be this weekend. Let's hear from our friends at Foul Territory one more time.
FT fam, designer clothes can be expensive, but we want our clothes to look good. We want to feel good. We want them to be affordable. And Kratz, if you tell me that I can wear a t-shirt that looks like it's tailored, but it's not actually tailored, and it just comes that way, then sign me up for True Classic.
Have to. You got to sign up for it because these shirts are soft, they're thin, they're durable, and they're very versatile. You can wear them to the gym. You can wear them out to a nice dinner. Let's get after it because these shirts are the real deal.
They are. Check it out. I've got one of the performance ones. It's a nice blue, fits well. I can go to the gym. I can go out. I can do FT in a shirt like this. FT fam, there's a reason why True Classic has sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers, and they are racking up over 200,000 5-star reviews. See for yourself with our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/foul to save. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
A lot of Yankees fans at Dyken Park last night. That was one of the reasons.
Yeah, it was so loud. He couldn't hear the call.
That was honestly one of the reasons given after the game as to why everything happened. That the Yankees fans were just very loud.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the Yankees can hit. That's like you saw the best version of the Yankees last night. Like Anthony Volpe is still an adventure at shortstop, but like you saw last night. That's as good as they can play. And they had their best pitcher on the mound in Max Fried, who has certainly pitched more high stakes games at Dyken Park, or when it was called Minute Maid at the time. But Max Fried was very, very good. A lot of people were very perturbed at the amount of bunting that took place last night. I before everything went to hell in a handbasket, did ask Joe Espada about Jeremy Pena's decision to try to lay down a sacrifice bunt in the third inning after Max Fried had walked Mauricio Dubon and hit Cesar Salazar. First of all, that was not called from the bench. Like, I know there were a lot of fans that wondered, there is no world in which the Astros coaching staff wants their MVP candidate to bunt in the third inning with 2 runners on and nobody out. Joe Espada, as he should do, defended his player and said, if he just gets the bunt, Joe Espada understood the rationale. Third baseman was playing back. I believe it was still Caballero in the game. Caballero is not Ryan McMahon, who came in after Caballero was ejected. McMahon's an excellent defender at third base. Caballero is okay, but he was playing back. And it does stand to reason that if Pena does get the bunt down, if he gets it down either line, it's probably pretty successful. And then the middle of the order of Correa and Altuve and Walker come up against Fried in a pretty advantageous situation. That did not happen. He did not execute the bunt very well. Max Fried is a 3-time Gold Glove winner at pitcher, and you saw why on both bunts last night. That play he made on Salazar's, that was incredible. But just, one of these games that you do have to tip your cap. Max Fried's really, really good. He's getting paid He's getting paid $218 million for a reason. Very good pitcher, but just another one of these offensive nights where, look, it's pretty clear the way that the Astros are constructed that given the uncertainty within their rotation, and I say that as their rotation is pitching very well. They've strung together some nice outings, albeit against the Rockies and the Angels, but their rotation has pitched well. But for them to have the sort of success they want, they're going to have to score runs. They're not going to win many 3-2 games. They're not going to win many 2-1 games. They're going to need this lineup to score, 3, 4, 5 runs a night. And against Fried, that's hard. But you get Will Warren tonight. It's one of these. The offense is going to have to be better because
you get your stopper and Jason Alexander out there.
You do. So we'll see. I think the drama of Tuesday night, I don't know that it'll carry over into Wednesday. It shouldn't. What the sad thing about all this is, and I'm going to say it now so no one is surprised when it probably comes out today. Victor Caratini is eligible to come back from the concussion injured list today, Wednesday, which likely means Cesar Salazar is going to be optioned to AAA. It is just the worst timing known to mankind. It is not an indictment on anything that happened. It is their backup catcher is coming back, so they are sending the fill-in backup catcher back to AAA. They could, there's an argument to be made that they could carry 3 catchers, especially, the rosters are expanded now, and you don't they wouldn't clear Victor Caratini if he wasn't fully recovered from the concussion, but he still just did spend 7 days on the concussion IL. So it would stand to reason that maybe they want to take it a little bit slower with him, but
plus you're expecting to have another roster move in a couple of days. So you could, option down Melton or, whoever and carry an extra catcher. But yeah, the poor man wore one figuratively and literally last night, and then is probably going to get sent down.
Yeah, it's a brutal business. This is a brutal business. Did you see? Kind of in a related note, CJ Stubbs, the younger brother of former Astros legend Garrett Stubbs, got a call up. He'd been grinding in the minor leagues for 8-9 years. Gets a call up. Gets paired. He's with the Nationals. Gets a call up. Gets paired with a fellow rookie pitcher who was making his big league debut. So they had a big league debut battery on the mound at Nationals Park. I think it was on Monday. The rookie threw 6 no-hit innings. He didn't finish it, and I don't think he was ever going to finish it, but pitched like the game of his life. CJ Stubbs did an excellent job, guiding him. Obviously, if you get doing that in your big league debut is nothing to sneeze at. CJ Stubbs got optioned the next day because it was the same situation. Their backup catcher was ready to come back, and it's just a brutal business. It really can be just a brutal business. And unfortunately, Cesar Salazar may get the brunt of that today if he gets sent back for Victor Caratini. It feels like this has been
before we wrap up. Can I just speak on my behalf here? You did a really great job in the post game yesterday of asking hard questions, asking all the right questions, and really good job reporting. I thought you guys did an excellent job. I appreciated it. And I will personally fight anybody in your mentions that is fussy about that, because there's a reason that Chandler has a credential, and it's that he's a really good journalist and is not just, a guy out there going through the motions or a fan that's just excited to Chandler is a very good journalist, and I thought you did a great job. So I know you're not going to say that, and you're not going to take a compliment, but let me just say, you're really good at this. And I'm glad that you were in there and were able to ask all those questions.
Your check's in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to make it out to you or Alicia? Or
yeah, I'd probably just put it in Olivia's college fund at this point.
Okay, I'll make it out to cash. How about that? If you have some spare cash that you would like to spend, shop crushcityterritoryshop.com. You can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can scan the QR code and it'll send you right there. If you need some retail therapy, if you need a hoodie because it's about to get cold allegedly in Houston, if you need a coffee mug to drink some caffeine to get you hyped up to watch Jason Alexander pitch against Will Warren, if you need a spiral notebook to write down your thoughts about Framber Valdez and Cesar Salazar, we sell all of that at crushcityterritoryshop.com. You can go and buy and shop to your heart's content. As always, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. He promises not to lie to you again, and all of his X posts will be truthful and nothing but the truth. You can rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. You can leave comments on the Spotify podcast. You can subscribe to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can get notified anytime we go live with a new episode. We'll be back with Josh Reddick on, when are we doing it? Friday?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, Thursday. I'm sure Josh has some thoughts about Valdez and Cesar Salazar. We'll get his reaction to that. We'll recap what we can of the Yankees series before they continue going to Arlington this weekend. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.
Remember, don't listen to the voices in your head unless it is the pitch com. Bye.